Before we dive in, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss any updates on the mysterious death of Gene Hackman. Trust me, what we're about to uncover will leave you speechless. When the world learned of the tragic deaths of Hollywood legend Gene Hackman and his longtime partner Betsy Arakawa, it was a shock that rippled far beyond the walls of their secluded Santa Fe home. But amid all the headlines, investigations, and speculation, two silent witnesses remained largely overlooked: their beloved dogs, Bear and Nikita. In fact, these dogs may hold the key to understanding what really happened inside that house, because as law enforcement digs deeper, the dog's behavior, along with the mysterious death of a third dog, Zena, is starting to reveal unsettling clues about the final days of Gene and Betsy Hackman. When first responders entered Hackman's home, Bear and Nikita were found alive and seemingly calm, a detail that immediately struck investigators and animal behavior experts as odd. Dogs are naturally sensitive to changes in their environment. In moments of crisis, most dogs would bark, panic, or try to escape. But not Bear and Nikita. Instead, they were eerily still, almost as if they knew something horrible had happened, and perhaps knew who was responsible. This strange calmness has led animal experts to argue that the dog's behavior was not normal for such a traumatic situation, unless, of course, the dogs were familiar with the person or people involved. So now, Bear and Nikita have become central figures in the investigation, silent witnesses whose actions in those critical moments could help piece together the puzzle of Gene and Betsy's deaths. But perhaps the most chilling part of this story is the fate of the couple's third dog, Zena. Zena was found dead days before Gene and Betsy, lying in what investigators have called a strange and unnatural position, her body displaying signs of distress. And yet, no autopsy was ever performed on Zena, and she was quickly dismissed as having died of natural causes. But now, as the mystery deepens, authorities are questioning whether Zena's death was a warning or even a trial run for something more sinister. Here's where things get strange. Zena was misidentified in the early police reports, listed under a different name, raising suspicions of a possible cover-up or severe negligence. Witnesses close to the family say Zena was in perfect health days before, making her sudden death all the more alarming. And crucially, Zena's body was cremated before a full investigation could be launched, meaning potential forensic evidence was lost forever. Could Zena have been poisoned? Was she targeted first as a test to see what might happen to Gene and Betsy? These are the terrifying questions investigators are now asking. Since Gene and Betsy's deaths, animal behaviorists have been called in to analyze Bear and Nikita, searching for answers that forensic evidence alone can't provide. Here's what experts have noted. The dogs avoid certain rooms in the house, particularly the main bedroom where Betsy's body was found. This could indicate a traumatic event occurred there, something they witnessed. Both dogs show signs of anxiety when approached by men, something they never displayed before. Oddly, the dogs are calm around women, which may suggest they associate men with the traumatic incident. One expert commented, "Dogs form emotional memories. If they saw something violent, if they saw someone hurt the people they loved, they remember that. Their fear responses are telling us a story, one we need to listen to." This behavioral analysis is now part of the official FBI investigation, as agents seek to determine whether an outsider, someone familiar to the dogs, could have been involved in Gene and Betsy's deaths. Gene Hackman was known to dote on his dogs, especially as he grew older and more reclusive. Friends and family say Bear, Nikita, and Zena were like children to him and Betsy, constant companions in their quiet life away from the Hollywood spotlight. Gene and Betsy often referred to their dogs as their babies, and it was clear to anyone who visited that the dog's well-being was a top priority. That's why Zena's unexplained death and the eerie calm of Bear and Nikita has hit those close to the couple like a gut punch, because the dogs would have been the first to know if something was wrong in the house. Their behavior now tells a story of confusion, fear, and possibly betrayal by someone they knew and trusted. As questions pile up, so do the suspicions of a cover-up. Why was Zena's death rushed through without proper examination? No toxicology tests were done. No second opinions were sought. No attempt to understand her unusual position at death was made. If Zena had been poisoned or harmed, that could point to a deliberate, premeditated attack, one that may have extended to Gene and Betsy shortly after. By overlooking Zena's death, did authorities miss the first warning sign of a larger plot? One of the most puzzling aspects of this case lies in the timeline of the dog's behavior before and after Gene and Betsy's deaths. According to neighbors, the dogs were often seen walking in the yard, playing together, and staying close to Gene and Betsy, until suddenly they weren't seen for days. 3 days before the bodies were discovered, a neighbor reported hearing frantic barking late at night, something uncharacteristic of these usually calm dogs. After that night, no one saw the dogs outside again, suggesting they were either locked in or too frightened to come out. The delivery driver who regularly dropped off packages said a package sat untouched on the porch for several days, and the dogs, who usually barked at his arrival, made no sound. These details have led investigators to piece together a rough timeline, and many believe that whatever happened inside that house may have unfolded over several days, with Bear and Nikita witnessing it all. In a shocking twist, preliminary veterinary tests are now being reviewed to see whether Bear and Nikita were exposed to any substances that could alter or suppress their natural behavior. Some experts are questioning whether the dogs were possibly sedated, which could explain their unusual calmness when police found them. Traces of unusual chemicals were reportedly detected on Bear's fur, though not yet confirmed. The water bowls left for the dogs have been taken into evidence for chemical analysis to determine if they were drugged over a period of time. If these suspicions prove true, it opens the door to a deeply disturbing possibility. Someone intentionally silenced the dogs to prevent them from reacting to an intruder or an attack. Interestingly, law enforcement has also started paying attention to how Bear and Nikita react during interviews with family and friends. As different people involved in Gene and Betsy's life are brought in to help with questioning, investigators are watching how the dogs respond. In one instance, Bear reportedly growled and backed away from a male associate of Gene's who was visiting for the first time since the deaths, even though Bear had known this person for years. Nikita reportedly hid under a chair when another acquaintance arrived for questioning, something she had never done before according to those who knew her. Behaviorists say these reactions could be a direct response to memories of the trauma, suggesting the dogs recognize who was present or even involved in the events leading to Gene and Betsy's deaths. Another layer to this case comes from the reading of Gene Hackman's will, which surprisingly made specific provisions for Bear, Nikita, and Zena, but only under the assumption that Gene and Betsy would be alive to care for them. With both Gene and Betsy now gone, questions have emerged about who is legally responsible for the dogs, and whether the dog's fate might influence family inheritance issues. Some details from the will that are now public include a trust fund set aside for the care of the dogs, totaling nearly $500,000. Instructions that the dogs should never be separated, suggesting that Gene and Betsy believe strongly in keeping their small family unit together. Naming a specific individual as the dog's caretaker, a person who has not yet stepped forward since the deaths, raising further questions about their possible involvement or fear of coming forward. Given that Gene's estate is estimated at over $80 million, some speculate that the dog's survival and their role as witnesses could impact inheritance disputes, especially if foul play is proven. Investigators have also uncovered a handwritten note left in a drawer by Gene Hackman himself, which now appears to take on a more sinister meaning. In part, the note reads, "If anything happens to me and Betsy, take care of Bear and Nikita. They know. Zena too, but she's getting old." At first, this note may have seemed like a loving but casual remark, but in light of the tragedy and Zena's unexplained death, the wording, "they know," has become a major clue. Could Gene have known someone was threatening him and Betsy? Did he recognize that the dogs would be the only ones left to bear witness if something happened? As silent witnesses, Bear and Nikita could potentially help answer some of the most pressing questions. Did someone enter the home, and were the dogs familiar with them? Did Gene or Betsy argue with anyone in those final days? Did the dogs witness violence or threats? Animal psychologists working with the FBI believe training and observation could help determine the dog's reactions to specific people. In fact, a carefully controlled introduction to different individuals, family, friends, associates, could reveal who makes the dogs anxious or fearful, offering a powerful lead in the investigation. Currently, the FBI is reportedly exploring every angle, and Bear and Nikita are at the center of this search for the truth. Among the key actions being pursued, a full behavioral analysis report on the dogs expected within weeks, re-interviews with people who had access to the house, including workers and acquaintances, DNA swabs of the dog's fur to check for contact with unknown individuals. Authorities are also revisiting veterinary records to understand if the dogs showed any signs of poisoning or abuse before Gene and Betsy's deaths. While these dogs are being seen as vital pieces of evidence, it's important to remember they are also victims of this tragedy. Animal psychologists warn that, without their owners, and after witnessing such trauma, Bear and Nikita are at risk of long-term emotional harm. For now, they are in a safe location, cared for by trusted handlers, but questions remain about their future. Who will adopt them? Will they ever feel safe again? Their fate may depend on the resolution of this case, and whether or not their testimony, silent as it may be, can bring justice for Gene and Betsy. In the end, it may not be fingerprints or forensics that break this case open. It may be the memories locked inside two loyal dogs who watched everything unfold. Bear and Nikita have survived something unspeakable, and as investigators are now realizing, their instincts, their fear, and their calmness may hold the truth behind Hollywood's most shocking mystery. As the FBI continues to investigate, one thing is certain: the dogs know more than anyone else alive about what happened in Gene Hackman's final days. And perhaps through patience and understanding, their story will finally be told. If you want to stay updated on this developing story, make sure to subscribe and leave a comment below. What do you think happened to Gene Hackman and Betsy? Could Bear and Nikita be the key to uncovering the truth? Stay tuned. This mystery is far from over.